presidential electors to file in each of their states. This will be class, it will be a class action suit. All of us against Cheney. To enjoin Cheney in his capacity as president of the Senate from, we know he's a presumptuous kind of guy. But from being presumptuous enough to only unilaterally accept presidential electors from a state that has no winner-take-all stature, and only accept those who won where they represent this candidate that won the majority vote. There are 33 states, ladies and gentlemen, in which there is no winner-take-all stature. That is, there is no state law that at somewhere in the election law of that state declares that the candidate that wins a plurality of votes in these states, in this state, is awarded all of the presidential electors that the state is entitled to. And the number of presidential electors every state is entitled to is the number that they have representatives in Congress and Senate. They just do it on tradition. There's a total of 203. You know, it's 270 is needed to elect, right? 203 presidential electors vote on a winner-take-all basis in states where there is no winner-take-all stature of law. You know all that argument that it's the states who determine with election law. The people who passed the 14th Amendment rejected that. So that's all a lie. Now, I'm setting you up there because I'm going to be asking you to do something similar in the next election, in this upcoming election. How many of you are green presidential electors? All right. You have it in your power to revolutionize the electoral process, and I want to tell you how. Now, here's how the formula worked in the second section, and you'll see how evident fair it was in its conception. It says, look, you southern state, you can't count all of the members of your population in order to determine, that's what how many representatives you can have, all right? And then only allow a subset of that population to vote for those representatives. You can only have representatives that is actually based on the number of those citizens that exercise the franchise in your state. So they don't have to say race, right? So what does that mean? If you count, like in this room, all the blacks and all the whites, in order to say we will have, in a ratio, a certain number of delegates to the Green Convention, you cannot then allow only the white segment in this room to vote for those delegates. That means then they say, okay, if you want to do that, then you can only have a number of delegates predicated on the white population, not the white and the black population. It's in the Constitution. Now that is how, that's just simple, but it's in the Constitution. Never been enforced. Well, so what in essence that's saying is, now let's apply it to modern days. It's not just a group of black, based on race that you determine what the discriminatory class is, discriminatory class is, but other groups. What we are arguing is, any group that is not counted, you count them in for the basis to determine how many representatives you can have in electoral college. But when it comes time to count and to vote, you don't count them. Then you can only have representatives predicated on that population you voted for. That's the game you're going to be playing. Amendment, it's not the first section. Most of us are familiar with the first section of the 14th Amendment. Actually, the second section, when the people were adopted, who formulated the 14th Amendment, they actually had the second section was to be the only part of it. But they didn't anticipate the Southern, the former Confederate States response. And this is what it says. It said, now this is the correction over, you remember the first article had to do representatives and taxes predicated on population. Here is there, but it was based on home, free whites, and only a fraction of the blacks. It said, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers. counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians. I'm sorry, the Indians are still left with 0. So they're not all the way progressive. He said, but when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States is denied to any, these are the key things, citizens of the United States or in any way abridged, the basic representation therein shall be reduced. In proportion with the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of citizens 21 years of the state. Now there's a United States code to implement. This is the enabling code. The enabling code, if you look and Google it, you will find Title 2, United States Code, Section 6. The title is Reduction of Representation. Should any state deny or abridge the right of any of the male inhabitants thereof being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States to vote at any election named in the amendment of the Constitution, Article 14, Section 2, except for participation in crimes. I mean, if you were a rebel and you rebelled against them, you ain't going to be able to vote. All right? The number of representatives opposing to such state shall be reduced in proportion which the number of such male citizens shall have to the whole number of citizens of the state. Now, this is what my suit against Gore was. My goal said, it has been established that Florida has discriminated and denied the right to its black. So you, in your capacity as presiding over the count of the Electoral College in the Senate, on January 6th, you were enjoined from counting the full slate of Florida electors. Florida is only entitled to those electors not subject to the reduction predicated on the disfranchisement of this black population. And if that had been enforced, then of course Gore would have won.
How many electors is that?
Florida was entitled to 25 electors. The black population would have counted for somewhere like 10 electors. I mean, I can get it number for you exactly.
Do they deny all the black votes?
No. If you look at the thing, this is what's so amazing about the abolition list. It's not in proportion to the people that you disfranchise. If you have identified a class that you have disfranchised, you have entered that class. So it's based on the black population. Right. That's what's radical about this. And that's why they call them what? Radical Republicans. That's why they call them radical. It was real radical democracy. It's in the Constitution. I was the first to try to enforce it. The number of unbound electors, that is electors that under state law are not pledged to any, under state law that they must vote for the presidential candidate that won the popular vote. These are the states. There's a total of 203. It's 270 is needed to elect, right? 203 presidential electors vote on a winner-take-all basis in states where there is no winner-take-all statute or law. We're going to file a class action suit in these suits, Green President, the Green Map, the Green Map Task Force to enforce the malapportionment penalty in all of these states. And so you know where my contact, email me, say I'm a Green President, get your elected number, and I can email you a PDF file of what a suit could be like for you in your particular state. All right? When you want the closest you can get to a fair representation that's close as possible to one man, one vote without amending the Constitution is proportional apportionment of the presidential electors predicated on the popular split in the Electoral College. That's as close as we can get.